Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair aboard the exploration ship, UES Discovery, and watched the stars through the main screen. He had been in space for 3 months now, exploring the outer regions of the Kepler 442 system. His mission was simple: find new worlds that humans could use and make sure no hostile aliens lived nearby. It was supposed to be a quiet job with no real danger. Jake was 35 years old and had been with Earth's space program for 12 years. He had brown hair, green eyes, and a calm way of speaking that made his crew trust him. The Discovery was not a big ship, only 40 meters long with a crew of 8 people. They had basic shields, light weapons, and good sensors. It was built for looking around, not for fighting. The ship's computer made a soft beeping sound. Lieutenant Amy Bell looked up from her sensor station with worry on her face. She was the youngest member of the crew at 23, but she was very good with the ship's equipment. "Captain, I'm getting some strange readings," Amy said. "There are ships coming toward us from 3 different directions." Jake stood up and walked over to her station. "How many ships?" "At least 20, sir." "Maybe more. They're big ones, too, much bigger than us." Jake felt his stomach drop. He had hoped they would never meet hostile aliens during their mission. "Can you tell what kind of ships they are?" "No, sir, I've never seen anything like them." "The computer doesn't recognize the design either." Chief Engineer Bob Turner came up from the engine room. He was a big man with gray hair who had worked on ships for 20 years. "Captain, something's wrong with our engines." "They're running fine, but I'm reading some kind of interference." Before Jake could answer, the main screen changed. Instead of stars, they now saw a massive alien ship filling their view. It was dark gray with sharp edges and strange symbols on its hull. The ship was at least 5 times bigger than the Discovery. A deep voice came through the communication system. The words were in English, but the accent was strange and frightening. "Human vessel, you will stop your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your destruction." Jake moved quickly to the communication panel. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth ship Discovery. We are on a peaceful mission. We mean no harm to you or your people." The alien voice laughed, but it was not a friendly sound. "Peace is for the weak. You will surrender now or we will destroy your ship." Jake looked at his crew. They were all staring at him, waiting for orders. He knew they had no chance against 20 alien ships, but he had to try something. "Amy, can we run?" She checked her sensors again. "No, sir, they've surrounded us. I'm also reading some kind of energy field around our ship. I think they're stopping us from jumping to hyperspace." "Bob, what about the engines?" "They're working, but something is draining power from them. I think those alien ships are doing it." Jake made his decision. He opened the communication channel again. "We cannot surrender our ship, but we're willing to talk. Maybe we can work something out." The alien voice became angry. "There is nothing to discuss. The Vorthan Empire takes what it wants. Your ship and your crew now belong to us." The main screen changed again. Now they could see inside the alien ship. A tall creature stood in front of the camera. It was over 7 feet tall with gray skin that looked like armor. Its eyes were yellow and its mouth was full of sharp teeth. The creature wore a dark uniform with metal decorations. "I am Commander Zara Velkoth of the Vorthan battlecruiser Dominion. Your species is new to us, human. We are curious about your weaknesses." Jake tried to stay calm. "We're explorers, not soldiers. We have families back home who are waiting for us." "Families make you weak," Zara said. "The Vorthan Empire has conquered 43 worlds. Every species we meet joins our empire or dies. You will join us." "What if we refuse?" Zara showed her teeth in what might have been a smile. "Then you die slowly." Suddenly the Discovery shook hard. Red lights started flashing and alarms went off. Amy looked at her station with fear. "Captain, they're using some kind of energy weapon on our engines. We're losing power fast." Bob ran back toward the engine room. "I'll try to fix it." But it was too late. The ship's engines stopped working and the lights went dim. Through the main screen, they could see small alien ships coming toward them. These ships attached themselves to the Discovery's hull with loud banging sounds. They're cutting through our airlock, Amy said. Jake opened a ship-wide communication channel. All crew, we're being boarded. Do not resist. I repeat, do not resist. Stay calm and follow their orders. The sound of cutting metal came from the main airlock. Then there was a loud bang as the door was blown open. Heavy footsteps echoed through the ship as the aliens came aboard. The bridge door opened and 3 Vorthan soldiers walked in. They were all tall and covered in the same gray, armor-like skin. They carried weapons that looked like they could cut through metal. The soldiers looked around the bridge with their yellow eyes. Commander Zara followed them onto the bridge. Up close, she was even more frightening. Her claws were long and sharp, and scars covered parts of her face. So these are humans, she sighed, looking at Jake and his crew. You are smaller than we expected. Weaker too. Jake stepped forward. I'm the captain. If you're going to take prisoners, take me and let my crew go. Zara laughed. How noble. Yes, we will take you, human captain. Your crew will be useful as workers in our mines. No, please. They're good people. They don't deserve this. Deserve? Zara moved closer to Jake. You speak of deserve? The weak deserve nothing. The strong take what they want. 2 Vorthan soldiers grabbed Jake's arms. Their grip was so strong it hurt, but he tried not to show pain. Take the captain to my ship, Zara ordered. Put the others in holding cells. We will decide what to do with them later. As they dragged Jake away, he looked back at his crew. Amy was crying quietly. Bob looked angry but helpless. The others just stared in shock. They took Jake through the connected ships to the Vorthan vessel. The inside was dark and cold, with metal walls covered in the same strange symbols. Alien soldiers watched him as they walked through long corridors. Finally, they reached a small room with metal walls and no windows. They threw Jake inside and locked the door. He was alone in the darkness. The first human prisoner of the Vorthan Empire. Jake sat on the cold floor and thought about his crew. About Earth? About everyone he would never see again? He had no idea that his capture would soon bring the full anger of humanity down on the Vorthan Empire. The aliens had made their first and last mistake. Admiral Lisa Chun was drinking coffee in her office at Earth Defense Command when the emergency alarm started ringing. The sound meant only one thing. Humanity was in serious danger. She put down her cup and ran to the main command center. The command center was a huge room filled with screens and computers. Dozens of people worked at stations, monitoring Earth's defenses and tracking ships across human space. When Lisa walked in, everyone looked worried and scared. What's the situation? Lisa asked. Colonel Pete Williams, her second in command, pointed to the main screen. Admiral, we received a hyperspace transmission 30 minutes ago. It came from outside human space, from the Kepler 442 system. Lisa knew that system. That's where Captain Morrison and the Discovery went to explore. Yes, ma'am. The transmission is from an alien species called the Vorthan Empire. They have Captain Morrison. Lisa felt cold fear in her stomach. Show me the message. The main screen changed to show the same tall gray alien that had captured Jake. Commander Zara Velkoth stood in what looked like a metal room. Behind her, Lisa could see human equipment from the Discovery. People of Earth, Zara began. Her voice was cold and full of hate. I am Commander Zara Velkoth of the Vorthan Empire. We have captured one of your ships and taken your people prisoner. The screen changed to show Jake Morrison in a small metal cell. He looked hurt and tired, but he was alive. Lisa had known Jake for 5 years. He was a good man and a good captain, Zara's voice continued. The Vorthan Empire has conquered many worlds. We are strong and you are weak. Your captain will suffer greatly if you do not surrender immediately. The screen showed Jake again. This time, 2 Vorthan soldiers were hurting him while he tried not to scream. Lisa's hands turned into fists. You have 1 week to surrender your entire species to the Vorthan Empire, Zara said. Send all your ships to the coordinates we will provide. If you refuse, we will make your captain's death very slow and very painful. Then we will come to Earth and destroy your world. The message ended. The command center was completely quiet. Everyone was looking at Lisa, waiting for her to tell them what to do. Lisa was 50 years old and had been a soldier for 30 years. She had fought in the Mars Colony War and the Asteroid Belt conflicts. She had seen many terrible things, but nothing had ever made her this angry. "Get President Rodriguez on the secure line," she ordered. "Call an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council. I want every military leader and every scientist involved in classified projects here within 6 hours." "Yes, ma'am," Pete said. "What should I tell them?" Lisa looked at the screen where Jake's face had been. "Tell them we're going to war." 6 hours later, the most powerful people on Earth sat around a large table in the secure meeting room. President Alex Rodriguez was there, along with General Frank Miller from the Army, Admiral Kate Spencer from the Navy, and General Sue Clark from the Air Force. Scientists and intelligence officers filled the other seats. Lisa stood at the front of the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, an alien empire has captured Captain Jake Morrison and threatened to destroy Earth if we don't surrender. They think we're weak. They think we'll give up our freedom to save one man." She pressed a button and the room screens showed images of ships and weapons. "They're wrong." President Rodriguez leaned forward. "Admiral, what are you suggesting?" "Total war, sir. We show these aliens what happens when they threaten humanity." General Miller frowned. "Admiral, we don't even know how strong they are. They could have thousands of ships." "It doesn't matter," Lisa said. "They took one of ours." "They threatened our world. That cannot stand." Dr. Emma Walsh stood up from her seat. She was the head of humanity's most secret weapons program. Emma was a small woman with gray hair, but everyone in the room knew she was one of the smartest people alive. "Mr. President," Emma said, "I need to tell you about some projects we've been working on. Projects that were so dangerous we hoped we'd never have to use them." She walked to the front of the room and pressed her own button. The screens now showed weapons that looked like they came from nightmares. "This is Project Ragnarok," Emma explained. "We've been building weapons designed not just to win wars, but to end entire civilizations." The first image showed a massive bomb, quantum cascade bombs. They can destroy a planet's core and crack the world apart. The next image showed a strange device covered in metal rings. Stellar manipulation arrays. They can make stars explode. The last image showed a ship unlike anything anyone had ever seen. It was black and covered in strange equipment. Planet crackers, ships designed to destroy worlds from the inside. The room was completely quiet. Even Lisa had not known about these weapons. President Rodriguez looked pale. "Dr. Walsh, are you saying we can destroy their entire empire?" "Yes, sir. Every world, every ship, every living member of their species." General Clark spoke up. "That's genocide. We'd be killing billions of aliens." Emma's voice became hard. "They threatened to torture Captain Morrison to death. They threatened to destroy Earth and kill every human being alive. What do you think they deserve?" President Rodriguez looked around the room. "I need a vote." All in favor of authorizing Operation Total Response? One by one, every person in the room raised their hand. The vote was unanimous. Lisa felt a cold smile on her face. "Dr. Walsh, how long do you need to prepare your weapons?" 72 hours. To install them on our ships. "But Admiral, these weapons have never been tested." "Then we'll test them on the Vorthans." The next 3 days were the busiest in human history. Ships from across human space received coded messages and started moving toward secret meeting points. The UES Retribution, UES Vengeance, and UES Reckoning led fleets of hundreds of ships each. Meanwhile, teams of scientists worked around the clock installing the new weapons. The UES Apocalypse received the first planet cracker device. The UES Nemesis got stellar manipulation equipment. Other ships received quantum cascade, bombs and new types of weapons nobody had ever seen before. Intelligence teams led by Agent Ruby Davis worked to find every Vorthan world and base. They used long-range sensors and captured communications to map the entire Vorthan Empire. Every target was marked for destruction. On the third day, Lisa stood in the command center watching the final preparations. Pete Williams came up to her with a report. Admiral, all fleets are in position. We have over 1,500 ships ready for combat. Dr. Walsh says all weapons are installed and ready. Lisa nodded. Any word from the Vorthons? They sent another message yesterday. They hurt Captain Morrison again and repeated their demand for surrender. Lisa's jaw tightened. Good, let them think we're weak and scared. They'll learn the truth soon enough. She opened a communication channel to all human fleets. This is Admiral Chun. In 6 hours, we will show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens humanity. We are not conquerors. We are not an empire. But we will not tolerate anyone who harms our people. She paused and looked at the images of the Vorthon ships on her screen. Operation Total Response begins now. We will not leave a single Vorthon alive. The fleets began to move toward Vorthon. Space. Humanity was going to war, and they were bringing weapons that could end worlds. General Marcus Thompson stood on the bridge of the battleship UES Retribution and watched his fleet prepare for war. Through the main screen he could see hundreds of human ships gathering at Rally Point Alpha. Destroyers, cruisers, carriers, and massive dreadnoughts floated in perfect formation. It was the largest war fleet humanity had ever assembled. Marcus was 48 years old and had commanded fleets for 15 years. He had fought pirates and rebels, but never aliens. His fleet was called the First Attack Group, and it had the job of hitting the strongest Vorthon defenses. Sir, the second and third fleets are reporting ready, said Captain Helen Brooks over the communication system. She commanded the carrier U.S. Vengeance and led the second attack group. Her job was to destroy Vorthon supply lines and cut off their reinforcements. Admiral Danny Foster spoke up from his command ship UES Reckoning. Third attack group is ready? As well, General. We have the deep strike mission into the heart of Vorthon space, Marcus nodded. Each fleet had over 500 ships and the best weapons humanity could build. But today they were getting something extra. Something that would change everything. Dr. Emma Walsh's voice came through the speakers. She was aboard the science vessel UES Prometheus, coordinating the installation of the new weapons. General Thompson were ready to begin the final equipment. Phase, proceed, Doctor. The next few hours were like watching a miracle. Teams of scientists and engineers moved between the ships in small shuttles. They carried equipment that looked like it came from another world. The weapons were so advanced that most people couldn't understand how they worked. The Use Apocalypse was the first ship to receive its new weapon. The Planet Cracker device was 20 meters long and covered in strange metal that seemed to glow with its own light. When they installed it in the ship's main weapon bay, the entire vessel seemed to hum with dangerous energy. Planet Cracker installation complete, reported Captain Steve Collins from the Apocalypse. All systems show green. This thing feels like it wants to tear something apart. The UES Nemesis received its stellar manipulation array. The device looked like a collection of metal rings that spun around a central core. When activated, it could reach out across space and grab a star, then make it explode. Stellar array online, said Captain Tony Garcia. The readings are incredible. This thing could destroy an entire solar system. Other ships received quantum cascade bombs. These weapons could punch through any shield and ignore most armor. They would materialize inside enemy ships and explode, turning metal into dust in seconds. Dr. Walsh worked without stopping for 36 hours. She moved from ship to ship, checking every weapon and making sure everything was perfect. Her teams installed devices that nobody had ever seen before, gravity bombs that could crush entire fleets, antimatter missiles that burned hotter than stars, and weapons that could tear holes in space itself. How many of these weapons do we have? Marcus asked when Emma finally came aboard the Retribution. Enough to destroy every world in the Vorthon Empire 3 times over, Emma said. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but she looked satisfied. General, these weapons were built in secret over the last 10 years. We always hoped we'd never need them. What changed your mind about using them? Emma's face became hard. They took one of our people. They threatened to torture him. They said they would destroy Earth and kill every human alive. She paused. Some threats cannot be ignored. While the fleets prepared, intelligence teams led by Agent Ruby Davis worked to gather information about the Vorthan Empire. Ruby was 35 years old and had been a spy for 12 years. She was good at finding secrets and even better at staying alive in dangerous places. Ruby's teams used long-range sensors to map every Vorthan world. They intercepted alien communications and broke their codes. They found supply routes, military bases, and population centers. Everything was marked for destruction. "General, we've identified 47 Vorthan worlds," Ruby reported. "Their empire is spread across 12 solar systems. Total population is approximately 50 billion. Marcus felt no sympathy. "How many military targets?" "Over 300. Bases, shipyards, and fleet staging areas. Their main fleet has about 8,000 ships, but most are older designs. Our intelligence suggests their technology is actually behind ours in some areas." "Weaknesses?" "Their ships have strong shields, but weak armor underneath. They rely on fear and overwhelming numbers rather than superior technology. Most importantly, they've never fought an enemy that fought back with total commitment." Dr. Walsh joined the conversation. "Agent Davis is right. The Vorthans have conquered 43 worlds, but every species they faced surrendered after losing a few battles. None of them were willing to fight to the death." Marcus smiled coldly. "They're about to learn what happens when they face humans." The final preparations took another day. Ship captains received their target assignments and studied the attack. Plans, engineers checked every weapon and engine. Pilots prepared their fighters for combat. Lieutenant Amy Patterson was one of the fighter pilots. She was 26 years old and had been flying for 4 years. Her job was to protect the big ships and attack smaller enemy vessels. "I still can't believe they took Captain Morrison," Amy said to her squadron leader, Commander Ben Hughes. "He seemed like such a good man." "He is a good man," Ben replied. "That's why we're going to get him back." "What if he's already dead?" Ben's face became grim. "Then we make sure the aliens regret it for the rest of their very short lives." Similar conversations were happening across the fleet. Every person knew what they were fighting for. The aliens had taken one human prisoner and threatened to torture him. They had demanded the surrender of Earth and all humanity. Such things could not be allowed. On the final day before the attack, Admiral Lisa Shun addressed the entire fleet. From Earth, her image appeared on every ship's main screen. "Soldiers, sailors, and pilots of humanity," she began. "In a few hours, you will enter combat with an alien empire that thinks we are weak. They believe that capturing one of our people will make us surrender. They believe that threatening our world will make us afraid." She paused and looked directly into the camera. "They are wrong. Humanity does not surrender. Humanity does not bow to threats. When someone takes one of our people, we come for them with everything we have." The image changed to show pictures of the Vorthan aliens and their ships. The Vorthan Empire has existed for over 1,000 years. They have conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved billions of people. They think they are the strongest species in the galaxy. The image changed again to show the human fleet. Today, they learn what real strength looks like. You carry weapons that can crack planets and destroy stars. You have ships built for war and crews trained for battle. Most importantly, you fight for something the Vorthans will never understand: each other. Admiral Chun's voice became harder. "Show them no mercy. Accept no surrender. The Vorthan Empire ends today. Every world, every ship, every living member of their species will be destroyed. This is humanity's answer to those who threaten our people." The transmission ended. Across the fleet, 1,500 ships prepared to jump to hyperspace. In the engine rooms, power levels rose to maximum. On the bridges, captains gave final orders. In the fighter bays, pilots climbed into their cockpits. "General." Marcus Thompson looked at his watch. In 30 minutes, the attack would begin. "All ships prepare for hyperspace jump," he announced. "Target coordinates locked in. We jump in 5 minutes." The minutes passed slowly. Everyone was thinking about Captain Morrison, alone in his alien prison cell. They were thinking about the threats to torture him and destroy Earth, They were thinking about 50 billion Vorthan aliens who had no idea what was coming for them. Jump in 10 seconds, Marcus announced. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, jump. Space around the human fleet twisted and bent. The stars stretched into lines of light. 1,500 ships disappeared from human space and reappeared at the edge of the Vorthan Empire. The war for humanity's survival had begun. The human fleet appeared at the edge of Vorthan space like ghosts coming out of hyperspace. General Marcus Thompson watched the main screen as his sensors picked up the target world, Vorthan Prime Beta. It was a military world with 2 billion alien inhabitants and the strongest defenses in the Empire. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the planet," reported Lieutenant Commander Sarah Price from her sensor station. "They have over 500 defense platforms and at least 1,000 ships in orbit." Marcus nodded. This was exactly what they had expected. The humans had not come to the Vorthan homeworld first. That would come later. Today was about sending a message that the entire galaxy would understand. "Open a channel to all Vorthan frequencies," Marcus ordered. The communication officer, Lieutenant Jamie Foster, worked at her controls. "Channel open, sir." Marcus stood up and straightened his uniform. His words would be heard across the Vorthan Empire and beyond. "This is General Marcus Thompson of the Human Fleet. You have 30 minutes to return Captain Jake Morrison, unharmed, to neutral space. You have 30 minutes to evacuate the world of Vorthan Prime Beta. This is your only warning." He paused and looked at the planet on his screen. 2 billion aliens lived there, all of them citizens of an empire that had threatened to torture a human being. "If Captain Morrison is not returned in 30 minutes, we will demonstrate what happens when you threaten humanity. If you do not evacuate, you will die with your world." The channel closed. Marcus sat back down and waited. He knew what the Vorthan response would be. They had conquered 43 worlds by making other species afraid. They could not show weakness. Now, the response came in less than 5 minutes. Supreme Admiral Corks Velnath appeared on the main screen. He was even larger than the other Vorthans, with scars covering half his face and metal decorations across his armor. "Human fools," Corks said in his deep voice. "You bring your tiny fleet to threaten the Vorthan Empire? We have ruled this galaxy for 1,000 years. Your pathetic ships will be destroyed in minutes." Behind Corks, the screen showed thousands of Vorthan ships moving into attack formation. They were massive vessels, twice the size of human ships, with dark armor and weapons that crackled with energy. "You demand the return of your captain?" Corks laughed. "He screams beautifully when we hurt him. Perhaps we will send you recordings of his death." Marcus felt cold anger in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "You have 25 minutes to evacuate the planet. After that, nothing will save you." Corks showed his sharp teeth. "We do not evacuate. We do not retreat. We will destroy your fleet, and then we will destroy your world. The human species will serve the Vorthan Empire or die." The transmission ended. Marcus turned to his crew. "Battle stations. All ships prepare for combat." Red lights began flashing across the fleet. 1,500 human ships moved into attack formations that they had practiced for years. The UES Retribution led the center group. The UES Vengeance commanded the carrier forces. The U's Reckoning took the right flank. "Sir, Vorthan fleet is moving to intercept," Sarah reported. "One count over 3,000 ships. They outnumber us 2 to 1. "What about their defenses? The orbital platforms are powering up. Energy readings are off the charts. These aliens have some serious firepower." Marcus opened a channel to the entire human fleet. "All ships, this is General Thompson. Remember why we're here. They took one of our people. They threatened our world. They think we're weak." He paused. "Show them what human strength looks like." The Vorthan fleet reached weapons range first. Their ships opened fire with energy beams that could cut through mountains. Green and purple light filled space as hundreds of alien weapons fired at once, but the human ships were ready. Their shields absorbed the first attack while they moved into position. Then they fired back. The difference was shocking. Human railguns fired metal slugs at speeds close to the speed of light. These projectiles punched through Vorthan shields like they were made of paper. Where alien energy beams heated up human armor, human weapons simply destroyed whatever they hit. The Rui's Retribution fired its main guns at a Vorthan battleship. The alien vessel was over a kilometer long with armor 3 meters thick. The human projectiles went through the front of the ship and came out the back, leaving holes you could fly a fighter through. Direct hit, reported Weapons Officer Lieutenant Carl Peterson. Alien ship is breaking apart. Across the battle, the same thing was happening. Human weapons were more advanced than anything the Vorthans had ever seen. Railguns, particle beams, and plasma cannons tore through alien ships like they were toys, but the Vorthans had numbers. For every alien ship the humans destroyed, 2 more took its place. Energy beams hammered human shields while missile swarms tried to overwhelm their defenses. "Sir, we're taking heavy fire," Sarah reported. "Shields are down to 60%. Lieutenant. Amy Patterson was flying her fighter in the middle of the battle. She had trained for this her entire career, but nothing had prepared her for the reality of space combat. Alien ships filled the space around her, firing weapons that could destroy her fighter with one hit. "Blue Squadron, form up on me," she called to her wingmates. "We're going after that cruiser." Amy's fighter was small and fast. It carried 2 railguns and a rack of quantum torpedoes. The torpedoes were Dr. Walsh's latest invention, weapons that could ignore shields and materialize. Inside enemy ships, she dove toward a Vorthan cruiser that was firing at the UES Vengeance. Anti-aircraft fire filled the space around her as the aliens tried to shoot her down. Amy rolled and twisted her fighter, using every trick she knew to stay alive. "Torpedo lock achieved," her computer announced. Amy pulled the trigger. 2 quantum torpedoes left her fighter and disappeared. A second later, they reappeared inside the Vorthan cruiser and exploded. The alien ship broke in half and drifted away. "That's for Captain Morrison," Amy said. The battle continued for 17 minutes. Human technology proved superior to Vorthan numbers and brutality. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds burned and died under human fire. Alien crews that had never known defeat found themselves outmatched by species they had thought was weak, but Marcus was not interested in winning a fair fight. He opened a channel to Dr. Walsh aboard the UES Prometheus. "Doctor, are your weapons ready?" "All systems show green, General." "The planet Cracker is charged and ready to fire." Marcus looked at the world below. 2 billion aliens lived there. They were citizens of an empire that tortured prisoners and threatened to destroy Earth. They had chosen their side. Target the planet, prepare to fire. The Use Apocalypse moved away from the main battle. Captain Steve Collins guided his ship to a safe distance from Vorthan Prime Beta. The planet Cracker device powered up with a sound like thunder. "Sir, alien fleet is trying to intercept us," reported his weapons officer. "They know what we're doing. All ships protect the Apocalypse," Marcus ordered. "Do not let them interfere." Human ships formed a protective wall around the Apocalypse. They fought with desperate fury as Vorthan vessels tried to break through. Energy beams and missiles filled space, but the humans held their line. "Planet Cracker ready to fire," Steve announced. Marcus took one last look at the alien world. Cities covered its surface. Billions of Vorthans lived and worked there, probably never thinking about the humans they had threatened. Today they would learn that actions have consequences. "Fire," the planet Cracker activated. It did not fire a beam or launch a missile. Instead, it reached across space with invisible fingers of force and grabbed the planet's core. The device began to squeeze. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then cracks appeared on the planet's surface. They grew larger and spread faster as the planet Cracker did its work. Lava began to pour out of the wounds in the world. The Vorthan fleet stopped fighting. Every ship turned to look at their world as it began to die. The cracks spread across continents. Oceans boiled away into space. Mountains crumbled into dust. "My God," whispered Sarah Price. "We're actually doing it. We're killing an entire world." Marcus watched without emotion. They made their choice when they threatened humanity. The planet cracked apart like an egg. The two halves drifted away from each other, trailing fire and debris. 2 billion Vorthons died in seconds. Their screams were lost in the vacuum of space. The destruction was visible from neighboring star systems. Every species in the galaxy would hear about this day. They would learn that humanity was not to be threatened. Supreme Admiral Quarks appeared on the main screen again. His face was filled with shock and fear. "What have you done?" "You destroyed an entire world. You killed billions of innocent people." Marcus leaned forward. "There are no innocent people in the Vorthon Empire. You took our captain. You threatened our world. This is the price." "You're monsters," Quarks whispered. "No," Marcus replied. "We're humans, and now you know what that means." The human fleet began to move deeper into Vorthon space. They had sent their message. The Vorthon Empire was about to learn that threatening humanity was the last mistake they would ever make. Supreme Overlord Thex Velzorth stood in his throne room on the Vorthon homeworld and watched the reports come in. The humans had destroyed Vorthon Prime Beta. 2 billion of his people were dead. An entire world had been cracked apart like a broken egg. Thex was the ruler of the Vorthon Empire. He was 8 feet tall and covered in black armor that had been fused to his skin through ancient rituals. His yellow eyes burned with rage as he listened to the reports from his surviving commanders. "Supreme Overlord," said Admiral Quarks through the communication system, "the humans have weapons we have never seen before. They destroyed our world in minutes. Our ships cannot match their technology." Vex smashed his metal fist against his throne. "Impossible. The Vorthons are the strongest species in the galaxy. We have conquered 43 worlds. We have crushed every enemy we have faced. Not these humans, Supreme Overlord. They fight like demons. They show no mercy and accept no surrender." Vex thought about the human captain they had captured. Jake Morrison was still in his cell, probably not even knowing that his people had declared total war on the Vorthon Empire. The capture of one weak human was supposed to make their entire species surrender. Instead, it had brought death to billions. "Bring me all our fleets," Vex ordered. "Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. The humans want war. We will give them war like they have never seen. Yes, Supreme Overlord." "But what about the human captain?" Vex's eyes burned brighter. "Kill him. Kill him slowly and send the recording to the humans. Let them see what happens to those who oppose the Vorthon Empire." The next few hours were busy with preparation. Messages went out to every Vorthon fleet across the Empire. Over 10,000 ships began moving toward the homeworld. It would be the largest armada in Vorthon history. Meanwhile, deep in the prison levels of the Imperial Palace, Commander Zara Velkoth walked toward Jake Morrison's cell. She carried tools designed to cause pain without killing too quickly. The Supreme Overlord wanted the human's death to last for hours. Jake sat in his cold cell and tried not to think about his crew. He had no idea that humanity had gone to war for him. He did not know that billions of Vorthons were already dead. He only knew that he was probably going to die far from home. The cell door opened and Zara walked in with 2 guards. "Hello, human." "Captain, it is time for you to pay for your species' crimes." "What crimes?" Jake asked. "We're explorers, not warriors." Zara laughed. "Your people destroyed Vorthon Prime Beta. 2 billion of my people are dead because of you." Jake stared at her in shock. "That's impossible. Humans don't destroy worlds." "They do now." Zara activated one of her torture devices. "The Supreme Overlord wants your death to be slow and painful." "I'm happy to serve." But before she could touch Jake, alarms began ringing throughout the palace. Red lights flashed and the sound of weapons firing came from outside. A guard ran into the cell area. "Commander, we are under attack. Human ships have appeared in orbit. They are destroying our defenses." Zara cursed in her own language. "How many ships?" "Hundreds, Commander. Maybe thousands." They came out of hyperspace all around the planet. Above the homeworld, the human fleet had arrived. General Marcus Thompson commanded one group while Admiral Danny Foster led another. Captain Helen Brooks brought her carriers from a different direction. They had surrounded the most important world in the Vorthan Empire. "All ships, this is General Thompson," Marcus announced. "You know why we're here? Find Captain Morrison and destroy everything else." The battle for the Vorthan homeworld was not really a battle at all. It was an execution. Human ships appeared everywhere at once, using hyperspace jumps to avoid the alien defenses. Their weapons carved through Vorthan vessels like knives through paper. The UES Nemesis, equipped with stellar manipulation technology, moved toward the system's star. Captain Tony Garcia had orders to turn the sun into a weapon if necessary. Dr. Walsh's device could reach across space and grab the star's core, then make it explode. "Sir, Vorthan fleet is trying to form defensive lines around the planet," reported his sensor officer. "Let them try," Tony replied. "It won't matter in a few minutes." On the planet's surface, human marines landed in small ships. They fought their way through Vorthan defenders toward the Imperial Palace. These soldiers were the best humanity had to offer, equipped with armor that could stop alien weapons and carrying guns that could punch through walls. Sergeant Kate Reynolds led one squad through the palace corridors. She was 30 years old and had been a Marine for 10 years. Her job was simple: find Captain Morrison and get him out alive. "Contact front," called Private Joe Miller as Vorthan guards appeared around a corner. The aliens were firing energy. Weapons that left burn marks on the walls. Kate and her Marines fired back with rail rifles. The human weapons went through Vorthan armor like it was made of cardboard. The alien guards died in seconds. "Move up," Kate ordered. "The captain is somewhere in this building." They fought their way deeper into the palace. Every corridor was a battle as Vorthan soldiers tried to stop them. But human weapons and training were superior. Marine squads moved like machines, covering each other and eliminating enemies with cold efficiency. In space, the Vorthan fleet was dying. Admiral Danny Foster watched from the bridge of the UES Reckoning as alien ships burned and exploded. His task force had surrounded 3 Vorthan battle groups and was destroying them one by one. "Sir, we're picking up communications from the alien command ship," reported his communication officer. "They're asking for surrender terms." Danny's face was hard. No surrender, no quarter. Destroy them all. The human fleet had specific orders from Admiral Chun on Earth. The Vorthan Empire would be completely destroyed. Every ship, every world, every living member of their species would die. There would be no survivors to threaten humanity again. Quantum cascade bombs materialized inside Vorthan ships and exploded. Gravity weapons crushed entire formations of alien vessels. Antimatter missiles burned hotter than stars as they tore through enemy armor. Supreme Overlord Thex stood in his command center and watched his empire die. Reports came in from across Vorthan space. Human fleets had appeared at every important world. Ancient colonies were being destroyed. Industrial systems were burning. Refugee ships were being hunted down and eliminated. "Supreme Overlord," said one of his advisors, "we must negotiate. The humans are destroying everything." "The Vorthan Empire does not negotiate," Dex replied. But his voice was no longer confident. For the first time in his life, he was afraid. An explosion shook the building. Human Marines had reached the main levels of the palace. Vex could hear the sound of rail rifles cutting down his guards. In the prison levels, Sergeant Kate Reynolds and her squad found Jake Morrison's cell. The door was locked with alien technology. The human cutting tools made short work of it. Jake looked up in amazement as human soldiers rushed into his cell. "Are you really here? Or am I dreaming?" "We're really here, Captain," Kate said. "Earth sent us to get you." "Can you walk?" "I think so." Jake stood up on shaky legs. "How many ships did they send?" Kate smiled grimly. "All of them, sir. Every ship in the human fleet." They fought their way out of the palace as the building shook from explosions. Above them, the battle for orbit was ending. The last Vorthan ships were being destroyed by overwhelming human firepower, Captain. Tony Garcia received the signal he had been waiting for. Stellar manipulation array, prepare to fire. Target the primary star. Sir, if we destroy the star, it will consume the entire system, his weapons officer warned. That's the idea. The device activated. Invisible forces reached across space and grabbed the star's core. Nuclear reactions that had burned for billions of years suddenly became unstable. The star began to collapse. Kate and her Marines reached their evacuation ship just as the star started to die. They blasted off from the planet's surface and raced toward the safety of the human fleet. All ships, emergency jump, General Marcus ordered. Star collapse in 30 seconds. The human fleet disappeared into hyperspace just as the Vorthan sun exploded. The supernova consumed the homeworld and everything else in the system. Supreme Overlord Dex and the heart of his empire were turned to dust and energy, but the humans were not finished. Across the galaxy, the destruction continued. Every Vorthan world was cracked apart by planet crackers. Every star system with alien colonies was consumed by artificial supernovas. Fleet after fleet of Vorthan ships was hunted down and destroyed. It took 2 weeks to complete the genocide. When it was over, the Vorthan Empire was gone. A 1,000-year-old civilization that had conquered dozens of worlds was reduced to floating debris. Admiral Lisa Chun stood in Earth Defense Command and watched the final reports come in. All Vorthan worlds destroyed. All fleets eliminated. No survivors detected. She opened a communication channel to the entire galaxy. Every species with the technology to receive it would hear her words. This is Admiral Lisa Chun of Earth. The Vorthan Empire is no more. They captured one human being and threatened our world. This was their punishment. She paused and looked directly into the camera. We are not conquerors. We are not an empire. We seek peace with all species who offer us the same. But any civilization that harms a human being will face total annihilation. This is humanity's promise to the galaxy.